This is a half lap joint. This is one of the strongest joints, probably because it's one of the simplest. And so usually put them on the end where you have two cross grains, you build in a frame, something like that. So I started this off by taking my board and running across table saw at 3/4 of an inch. So that's half of a dimensional 2 by, so 1.5. 3/4 of an inch. Then I set my skill saw to that same 3/4 of an inch depth, and I'm going to take it and make a bunch of consecutive cuts. The reason I made that first cut on the table saw was to guarantee that it was exactly where I wanted it and that it was straight, because that's where the boards are going to butt up against each other. And these cuts here, they don't have to be so perfect, because all you're doing is you're just making consecutive cuts as close together as you can. That sets the depth. We're going to go in and we're going to chisel these out afterwards. So we'll know exactly how low to go, because we'll be able to see the cut lines on the board itself. And that last cut that I did on the very end, that just makes it easy to get the chisel started. I'm using a 1.5 inch chisel here, and I'm going to use it with the bevel side facing down. So that's going to force the chisel to pop up as we go. And so what I'm doing is I'm pulling out a lot of this rough that's here. There's a lot of videos where people just snap these off, and that's usually possible when the wood is kiln dried. This is pressure treated wood because it's going to be outside, so it's a little bit wet, and so the fibers are a little stronger. So we're going to pull off all of it, and then once we get most of the meat out of all those chips, we're going to flip the chisel over and put the flat side down. This is going to allow me to really measure the depth and get in there and cut it out. This is a bit of a time-consuming process, but if you pay attention, it's pretty easy to do. I am going to switch over to a bigger chisel at this point. This is a 2-inch chisel. Well, it's actually called a slick, and so it's a framing chisel, and so I'm going to use that, and because of the larger surface area, it just really makes quick work of it. And you can see with the flat side down, it just sets the depth of that. And so all of those cut lines are still going to appear on there, and you want to keep pulling off the wood and cutting it back until those lines disappear, and then that guarantees that you're exactly 3/4 of an inch down, and that's where we get the half lap joint. So we're going removing half of the material on each side, and then we're going to just lap them over each other. Clean this up as best you can. These are going to be glue joint together, so I want as much surface area as possible. That's really what makes this joint really strong, is that normally when you butt them up, you just have the two sides of the board. But here, we're going to have all of the material, and we can glue that. I'm going to peg this. You can use mechanical fasteners like screws, and you can see where it butts over, and then that joint. Now these are overcut, so when the joints are finished, I'm going to go back and I'm going to cut off those ends, and that's a half lap.